through. But
Okay.
welcome to our live stream. There's no music this week because we're going to sing Frank Sinatra's famous song My Way,
I'm
in
not doing
which
that. That you've sprung that surprise on me. I am not singing publicly
regrets.
on a
I've had
live
a
stream.
few, but then
Go on.
again, too few to mention. I can't sing, I can't sing.
You were doing
However,
well. Keep going. Keep going.
no, I'm not going to embarrass myself that much, Lynn. Not this
Oh.
close to the weekend. Anyway, regrets is the topic. If this is your first time watching, you're very, very welcome. Lynn and I are here to help you with your English, improve your listening skills, and today look at a little bit of grammar and hopefully get you commenting and practicing expressions you can use to speak about your regrets. My name's Craig. I'm from the website mansioningles.com, where you can study English for free, especially if you're a Spanish speaker. And if you like listening to podcasts to improve your English, go to inglespodcast.com or search inglespodcast.com wherever you listen to your podcasts, and there you'll find a weekly podcast that I do with my good friend and co-host Reza. And if you're interested in doing a speaking course, there's a new one starting this Sunday, and there will be also courses in June. So get in touch via the website englishcraig.com if you feel you need to improve your fluency and your speaking skills. I'll now hand over to Lynn, if this is the first time you've seen her, and she'll tell you who she is and where she's from and what she does.
Okay, thanks, Craig. So my name's Lynn, and I'm also an online English teacher. And my website is called, and my business is called Put It Like This. And the website is putitlikethis.com. And basically, I like you to find your own voice in English, because I think often when we learn English, you end up trying to speak the way the book tells you or the teacher tells you. And I like to think that I can try to help people find ways to express the things that they want to speak. So my courses are all tailor-made, and basically we start from your objectives. So if you just want English to go on holiday, then we'll try to make sure that you've got the English for those kind of situations. If you need English for business, then the specific situations that you do in business, we'll try to practice. Some people want to do exams, so obviously I can also teach people to help improve their performance in exams. But the point of departure is always what you have to do in English, what you need. And that's the way I make the courses for you. So if you're interested, you can go to my website, putitlikethis.com, and you can find out more about what we do there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, we want to start with an apology because I think it's possible that sometimes people are commenting and writing in the chat and saying hello and asking questions. And for some reason, I suspect that some of your comments are not coming through so that we can see them. If that is the case, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's happening on YouTube. We're also streaming to Facebook and to LinkedIn. But if you are watching and your comments are not being answered by us or addressed by us, then I'm sorry, I don't know what we can do about it. I just want to apologize if that is happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Marlene. Good to see you here. How are things?
Hello, Marlene again. Hi. And today we're talking about regrets, Marlene. So I can see that Marlene says, I'm sorry I'm late. So I bet you wish you had connected earlier.
You wish you had connected earlier. That's a regret.
Yeah.
Let's start with this question. What kind of things do people tend to regret, Marlene, and anyone else watching? If you are watching and you haven't said hello, please tell us where you are and what your name is and what things people tend to regret in life. And we'll start from there. What kind of things do people tend to regret?
Well, I had a little think about this earlier today, and I was also discussing it with my husband. So I've got some ideas too.
Okay.
Shall I start, or would you like to start, Craig?
Yeah, no,
What do
no.
you think?
Tell us
Uh-huh.
what you think, and then we'll wait for people to comment as well and
Yeah. Uh-huh.
include those.
Well, the first thing that sprung to my mind was missed opportunities.
Mm.
So I think like sometimes when people regret, sort of, they look back on their lives, like you don't realize it at the time, but it's when you are past the moment. So maybe a year later, a few months later, a few years later, who knows? And you look back on your life and you think, I wish I had studied that, or I wish I hadn't done that. Or you look back at your life and you might see some things that you could have, decisions that you could have made, or jobs that you could have taken, or courses that you could have done. And you think that maybe you have that little niggling doubt in your mind. If I had done
What's a
that.
niggling doubt?
A niggling doubt it's a doubt, something that you think, I don't know, I'm not sure about this. And a niggling doubt is something, it constantly bothers you. Niggling is like it bothers you. It's very disturbing, and it's like a little tiny. It's not like a big pain. It's like a little tiny pain, and it keeps coming back and back and back. Sometimes people have a niggling toothache, and it's when your toothache isn't permanent. It's not a permanent pain. Maybe you have it in the morning and then maybe you're fine. And then maybe it comes back again in the evening, but it just won't go away. That's
Yeah.
niggling. Would you say, is that right?
Yeah,
Niggling.
yeah. Well
It's a
described,
nice
exactly.
collocation, niggling doubt. And you have this little niggling doubt in your mind, I think. You look back on your life and you think, maybe my life would have been different if I had made different decisions or taken different opportunities. I
And
think actually that's very linked, personally. I think for me, that is sometimes very linked to those moments when I feel a little bit jealous, I think.
jealous of
Yeah,
other
of
people.
something, of other people. Like I don't, it's not a nice feeling to be jealous of other people. I don't think it's something that I do regularly, but I would be telling a lie if I didn't say that I'd never felt jealousy. And sometimes if you're a bit unhappy and you see somebody else who seems to have more success than you, or seems to be happier, or I don't know, then that's when you have these little niggling doubts and you think, I could have been there if I had done this, you
And
know?
it's worse on social media now because we're seeing Instagram pictures of people's perfect lives
Yeah, of
and we
course.
become envious. I want what they've got. I want to be as happy or as rich or as
Uh-huh.
successful as that person on Instagram. So it's been made worse, I think, by social media. But
Yeah,
another,
yeah.
you said that,
And sometimes then you start to think, why did that not happen to me? Or why am I not in that position? And then
hmm,
when you have that thought, that's when sometimes the regrets, for me, that's when the regrets kick in. Because then I think, well, if I had made that decision, maybe I could have been there now, you know? Uh-huh.
and you
It's
mentioned
very
earlier,
silly, but it's kind of like
no, it's
it's a
true.
terrible little sort of psychological thing that goes on.
But you spoke earlier about things that you should have done or shouldn't have done. So I'm wondering what's more common? Is it more common to regret doing something or regret not doing something? Or what's
Ah,
worse, actually? Is it worse
uh-huh.
to regret doing something or not doing it?
Oh, not doing something. Well, I think the example I was describing, you're usually regretting opportunities that you didn't take. So that's probably not doing something. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's easier and safer not to take risks. So you
Hmm.
tend to keep with what you know and don't go out of your comfort zone. And then when you look back, you think, oh, what if I had done that? I wonder if my life will be better now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Marlene says, I wish I could have left my country earlier. Perfect grammar.
Hmm.
Well done, Marlene.
Well done.
Perhaps opportunities missed,
Good. Hmm.
relationships that could have had another ending. Yeah.
Hmm. That was another thing, I think. I think sometimes we regret um, maybe our actions, we regret things that we have done. And for me, that's sometimes I regret saying things sometimes, especially if I've been a bit mean to somebody.
Yeah,
When you haven't really behaved properly, I do regret that, I think, because sometimes you don't realize in the moment. And then when you realize later that you might have hurt somebody,
exactly.
or your actions or your comments could have been damaging to people, those regrets I definitely have. I think because nobody's perfect, so of course we've all made mistakes. And if they've really, particularly if they've been mistakes that have hurt me, it doesn't matter so much really. But if they've been mistakes that have hurt other people, then yes, I think those regrets I have.
I couldn't agree with you more. So when you spoke to your husband about this, were
Mm-hmm.
you on the same page? Did you more or less agree with each other?
No, we didn't actually. We didn't, because on that question, what is worse, regretting doing something or not doing something? I said it's worse, for me, it was worse regretting doing something,
Oh, really?
because I,
I
well, because, well, in the sense of like, if I've done something bad,
to
you
another
know,
person. Yeah,
to another person, those regrets do stay with me, I think, a little bit.
true. Yeah, I think I'd agree with
But
that.
and he said no, he regrets not doing something, like, like living your life in the day, and you have to do, which I also understand. But maybe when you've done something bad to another person, that's a different kind of regret than not doing something, like a missed opportunity.
Exactly. Let's look at
Hmm.
some grammar then, because we need some language to talk about regrets. And we've been using the language. I don't know if you noticed. So
Hmm.
when you use the verb regret, I regret, or I don't regret, and then you follow it with a verb, use the gerund, the ing form. When you're talking about the past, for example, I regret moving to Spain. I don't
Hmm.
really, but that's just an example. Or I regret not getting married sooner, for
Hmm.
example. I regret not studying
That's the
Spanish at school.
negative. So notice that you put the not before the gerund. Huh? I regret not getting married sooner. Hmm. Or uh-huh.
You can use the infinitive after regret, but it tends to be for formal English more, and it's not
That's right.
necessarily
Hmm.
talking about the past. For example, I regret to inform you that your services are no longer required. In other words,
Hmm.
you've got the sack, leave your job, go. We've let you go. So
Hmm.
when it's in a formal context, you can use the infinitive. Sometimes you
Uh-huh.
hear that when you're catching a train, especially in the UK, and you hear, "We regret to inform our passengers that this train has been cancelled and there will now be a bus service to
Uh-huh.
take you to your destination." So
But
yeah,
that's very clearly, as you said, it's because you're talking about a present regret or a future regret. And that's when we use the infinitive, the to inform. But if you're, as Craig said before, if you're regretting something in the past, it's always with the gerund, I think.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as Lynn said before, when she was talking about regrets, she used wish. And she used wish with the past perfect. I wish I had studied Spanish. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of similar to the third conditional. You're imagining something in the past that's hypothetical, that wasn't true, and you're using the past perfect with
Mm-hmm.
wish. If
Mm-hmm.
only as well, exactly the same grammar. I wish and if only, very similar. If only I had studied Spanish at school, I would be speaking better Spanish now.
Yeah, and notice that's because you haven't written that, Craig, but notice how Craig followed that. He said, I wish I had, or if only I had studied Spanish. This is a conditional. And so in the next part of the conditional, you need would, right? So if only plus past perfect, and then you need would. If only I had studied Spanish, I would be much more successful today, for
Yeah.
example. All right. Now, sometimes people don't finish the conditional. They just say, oh, if only I had studied Spanish. And when they don't complete the conditional, the idea is that they regret it very strongly. Isn't that true, Craig? Would you say? So if you don't
It's very
complete the
true for
conditional, it feels it's a big regret.
it's
Uh-huh.
very true for me when my wife makes a cake, because you'll always hear me say, "If only I hadn't eaten that second piece of cake."
But
Always
it's
say it.
too late.
But
You
it's too
always say
late
that.
because it was
Uh-huh.
just too good. I had to eat it. Yeah. If only
Uh-huh.
I hadn't eaten
Yeah.
it. And we often contract that had. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
listen very carefully for it. If only I hadn't, or
Mm-hmm.
I wish I'd. I
I wish
wish
I'd.
I'd gone. I wish I'd studied. I wish I'd bought. I wish I'd seen, for
Uh-huh.
example.
And that wish I'd really is tricky to pick up when you're listening because it's so squashed together. It's like wish I, I wish I'd, isn't it? I wish I'd studied Spanish. I wish I'd done. I wish I'd. It's
I
like
wish I'd.
another word. I wish I'd.
I wish
Uh-huh.
I'd.
I
Yeah,
wish I'd. Uh-huh. That's true. So the past perfect can be a problem there, can't it? Uh-huh.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Marlene says, regrets to have pursued an educational path which was not our choice, but culturally or socially
Ah.
or imposed by the family, which is
Yeah,
sometimes the
yeah. And
case.
that's actually definitely what my husband said to a later question that we had
Yeah.
later, which was about the advice to your 18-year-old self. I'll tell you that later and that when we get that question up at the end. But I know where you're coming from there, Marlena. And
Mm.
I think that's true if you have been unlucky, let's say, if your parents have influenced you heavily in the choices that you make when you're starting a career or you decide to go to university. I think many people do have regrets about that. I mean, I was quite lucky because my parents were very supportive. They just wanted me to study what I wanted to study. I think there was only my dad just said once, be careful of engineering because he worked in engineering and he said women don't really have equal opportunities. I remember my dad saying that to me, but
Mm.
he wasn't saying don't do it, but he just was giving me some information at
Which
the
in
time.
those days was pretty
In those
accurate.
days, it was true. Not at all now, thank goodness. But in those days, it was true. But he never
Mm.
pushed me. I think in that, so that was good.
So let's
Mm-hmm.
get you practicing this grammar because it is quite tricky. Let's get into you writing some sentences. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
regret plus gerund or the negative with not. I regret not doing something. Regret plus infinitive if you want to be formal. I wish I plus past perfect. Past perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some questions for you. Do you have any regrets about these things? For example, your studies, your job, where you live, maybe friendships, family, marriage, your childhood, missed opportunities that Lynn mentioned earlier. Any
Mm-hmm.
choices you've made, things you've said, things you haven't said, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know if you have any regrets. Do
Mm-hmm.
you think regrets change as we get older?
Yes, I do. What about you?
Yeah, obviously, when you're young,
Mm-hmm.
even though you haven't lived very long, you still have regrets. They're just about different things. You
Mm-hmm.
regret maybe not talking to the girl you really like or the boy you really like, or you regret
Mm-hmm.
not staying on at school or leaving school. So you have different regrets based on the stage you are in your life, I think. When you get older, those
Well, I
regrets
don't know. I
change.
think staying on at school or not staying on at school, that comes much later. That's you regret that much later.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
husband suggested, and I think he was right here, that when you're younger, you have maybe regrets that are more to do with material things. So you wish you'd had a car, or you wish you had a girlfriend, or you wish you had you regret that you're not as you haven't got the material possessions around you. But he
Oh,
seems to think that as you get older, and I agree with him on that, that as you get older, you lose your connection to the material things. And then maybe you might start regretting more the immaterial things. So maybe like relationships, or maybe you I mean, as a child, I was thinking about this. I, I had my grandparents, they were all there. I had my mother and father, they were all there. Now that they're not there, sometimes I do regret. I think, oh, I wish I'd spent more time talking to my dad about his profession. And I wish I'd spent more time listening to my grandparents when they reminisced about their youth, which I used to find really boring.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know so I think when you get older, I think my husband was right there, that it's not really about the material things, but it's more about the things that were immaterial, that you didn't value at the time, maybe when you were younger. They didn't
I
have
think
that value for you.
I think that's true. Yes, I think that's true. But of course, there are exceptions when a person gets to a certain age and they realize they don't have the financial resources, for example, to send their kids to have a good education. I can think of
Yeah.
someone who's in that situation now, and they regret not choosing a better career, maybe asking for a promotion, getting more money, taking a different career path so that they could give their children or their family more. So
Yeah.
maybe that's not, but it is material, I suppose. It's if it's income. But when you mentioned car when you're younger, there's, that just took me back immediately to a car that I really regretted buying. There was a car I wish I
Okay.
had. There's a car that I wish I hadn't bought, and the only
Uh-huh.
reason I bought this car, and it was somebody I met in a pub who sold me
Uh-huh.
this car, was because it had electric windows, and I'm so old that all of the cars I had up until that point had wind down windows with a
The
handle.
manual ones.
And I loved this car because it was like from the future, because you pressed a button and the window went zzzzt, and I loved it. But it was a terrible car. The engine was broken and it cost me a lot of money to repair. So I really regretted buying that car. But you're right, you regret material things more when you're younger. Yeah, for sure. Well,
Okay.
we're not getting many
Everybody,
regrets
we're
from you
not getting any
guys.
regrets. I mean, the
Everybody has
thing
a
is,
perfect life. Nobody has any regrets about any. That's fantastic. Brilliant. Well done. Nobody regrets anything.
when you actually suggested, because it was Craig's idea to do regrets today. When you suggested doing regrets, I thought, oh, but I'm the kind of person, I regard myself as the kind of person who doesn't regret very much.
Me too.
Yeah, you too. And I thought, oh, because there are some people who spend a lot of time on regrets, and there are other people who spend less time on them.
Yeah.
But I think it's true, when I was looking at your questions, that I think it's a natural human thing that we all regret. What is not the same is how much importance we attach to the regrets that we have. I think that we all have moments, flickers, where we think, oh, I wish or if only, or yeah, we have those little moments, but it depends on what importance do we attach to them. And sometimes there are people who spend all of their life regretting, isn't there? Like it's their major occupation. And I find it a bit of a waste of time. So I try to, when I catch myself regretting, I try to move on very quickly, because I don't find it's a very positive thing for my well-being. I don't think it's
Yeah.
good to regret. It's like jealousy. Jealousy is a very negative emotion. It's not good for you. So you feel it, but I kind of like,
Push it
move on.
away. Push it
Uh-huh.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also, I mean, like, I agree with you when you said that you regret things you'd said to people and the way people you might have hurt in the past. I do regret that and I do think about that. But I think any decision you take in the past, you've taken at that time with all the information you had. And at the time, you thought it was the right decision. So, really, there's no point thinking back
No.
and wishing you had made a different decision, because at that time, that was the best decision in the situation you were in at that time in your life. So, yeah,
But this
hindsight is
is
a wonderful thing.
that's hindsight. Yeah, you better put that in the chat, because that's a lovely word. Hindsight is the knowledge that you have when you look back, when like life's moved on. We say in hindsight, it was good. I think that's true. And I was thinking, well, if I think regretting is a negative thing and it's not useful and it's a waste of time. I thought that can't be true, because I do know, if I'm being very honest, that there are sometimes I feel that I have regrets. And then I thought, well, there must be a positive side to regrets. And then I thought, of course, there is a positive side, because it helps in you being more self-aware, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Because if you have the sensitivity to be able to look back at decisions that you've made, and maybe you can imagine better outcomes, or maybe you realize that you behaved badly and there is a better way to behave, that knowledge helps you go forward, doesn't it? It helps you improve as a better person in the future, you know?
The wisdom of the years,
Yeah, so
yeah, and experience.
the hindsight experience is a good experience to move you forward in life. So
Yeah,
maybe that's the positive sides of feeling or understanding regrets.
I've put in the chat. Hindsight is 2020. That's a common expression, isn't it?
I don't know. What does it mean? I don't know that
Well,
one.
if you have 2020 vision, your sight, it's
Ah, okay, it's
perfect. So
perfect.
it's always perfect looking back because you know what your
Mm-hmm.
decision has led you to.
Too, of course, of
So
course.
of course you see things clearly once
Mm-hmm.
after you've made the decision.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any regrets, Craig, about any of those things that you've put?
Um, Studies, no. Job, no. Where I live, no. Friendships. I wish I had kept in touch with some people who I've lost touch with.
Mm-hmm.
And partly that was because I'd changed countries a couple of times, partly
Mm-hmm.
because of laziness. And then
Mm-hmm.
there was also the tech revolution, because I used to write a lot of letters and
Mm, me
keep in
too.
touch that
Mm-hmm.
way. And then when we all switched to email, I lost touch with some people.
Mm-hmm.
Family, no. Marriage, no. My childhood, no. No, not really.
Mm-hmm.
Things you've said, yes. And
Mm-hmm.
people I've hurt in the past,
Mm-hmm.
I do regret, yeah. And Marlene said something similar as well. If only I had raised my standards in my last relationship. But
Mm-hmm.
again, that was a decision you made at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the
Yeah,
best decision for
but
the time you were
obviously,
at.
and obviously now that you see it like that, says a lot about what your decisions are now and
And
where
how
you
you've
are.
grown as
So,
a
and how
person.
you've grown as a person. So that's a classic example, isn't it, of
Hmm.
how you learn from your experiences and you go forward. So the regret is very useful there, because it makes it very clear to you what you don't want to do in the future. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
maybe this is the perfect time to say, what can you say to somebody who is expressing a regret? What can you say in English so that
Mm-hmm.
they maybe feel a bit
Feel
better?
better. That's true, because often regret is a sad thing, and if we share it with people, you need to have like a comforting expression, don't you, to
Hmm.
help the person move from that negativity of the regret. Yeah. So I think this was very good. I like this bit. You're in for a treat now. Craig's got some lovely expressions for you now.
Well, here are some ideas of things to say. I like the first one very much. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't be
Mm-hmm.
too hard on yourself. Don't punish yourself too much. It's okay. We
Mm-hmm.
all make mistakes. Just acknowledging that
Mm-hmm.
mistakes are things that everybody makes. What's
Mm-hmm.
done is done. You can't undo the past. Focus on the present and on the future, because what's in the past is in the past.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There are some more here. You're stronger than you think. You'll o-
That's when somebody's feeling desperate.
That's when they're crying
Yeah.
in,
Uh-huh.
in their coffee, and you think, "Oh
Mm-hmm.
God, what can I say?" You're stronger than you think.
I
You'll
think
you'll get over this, or you'll overcome
overcome
this. You'll
this.
get over is the phrasal verb.
Mm-hmm. It's never too late to make amends. Now, that's especially if you've done something, if you've behaved badly or you've hurt somebody. To make amends means to correct your behavior, to say you're sorry and to apologize. So it's never too late to make amends. It means even if the person's feeling bad, who you've hurt, but you can still change it. It's never too late. And you'd said this before, you did the best you could at the time. You made the decision that you could at the time. You did the best you could. Although some people regret because they realize they didn't do the best that they could.
Yeah.
Not everybody does their best all the time. Sometimes we know we could have behaved better and we didn't.
Or could have done better or worked harder.
Or could have done better or worked harder, because we don't always work optimal, do we?
If only I'd studied harder for my English exam, for example. How many students have you heard that from? Yeah. I'm really sorry you did.
Not very many in that correct form, because that's the reason they failed their
pass,
English
yeah.
exam, because they didn't have the grammar to say, if only I had studied harder. No, not many of them study that. If they have that grammar, they probably passed.
And this last one here I like very much. It's never too late to change the course of the future. Which, however bad you're feeling, I think that's a nice expression. You can always change what's going to happen in the future, can't you?
Well, I don't know whether you can change the future, but you can certainly change your attitude towards the future. That's what you can change, because the future you don't really control either. But whatever you do is you can change the way you feel towards something. That's in your power, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to another question, shall we? And change gears a bit. Here's a question. Have you ever experienced the feeling of buyer's remorse? Buying something and then immediately, or maybe later, regretting buying it? And you think, oh, if only I hadn't spent money on this load of rubbish.
Well, you just told us with your car, didn't you, with the electric windows?
Well, yeah,
that was your classic buyer's remorse.
That's one.
I had a massive buyer's remorse as well, which again with a material. I mean, buyer's remorse is to do with material objects, isn't it? And a few years ago, and I don't mind saying the name of the company aloud on YouTube because they were crooks. I bought a sofa from a company called Divato. I bought 2 sofas from a company called Divato, and I remember that when I was in the sales room looking at the sofas, that the sofas looked very nice. They really were aesthetically very, very nice. And they were fairly comfortable. But I had the salesman came over and gave me a very hard sales pitch to buy the sofa. And you always have to be a bit suspicious when the salesmen come on so strong, I think. I don't like it. I don't like that aggressive, strong sales pitch.
The hard sell.
And he was giving it to me, but because I liked the aesthetic of this sofa, and I had been looking for a long time for a one like it, I, of course, wanted to think that this was a sofa for me. And then, so the first red flag was when the salesman came on with the hard sales pitch. And then the second red flag was when he told me the price and said he could give me a 50% discount. The price was horrifically expensive. With the 50% discount, it was still really expensive. That was the second red flag. And, I wasn't a kid, I was I mean, it's a few years ago now, but I mean, I was well over 40 and I should have known better.
You must have really liked that sofa.
But I was very drawn by the aesthetics of the sofa. And so despite my better judgment, I bought these sofas, and they were, from the beginning when they were delivered, they were a mess.
Why?
And they were delivered, and when they unpacked them, it wasn't leather. I wanted to buy a leather sofa, and they said, no, this is better than leather. Look, it's like perfect. And he got his pen out and drew all over it, and then he had this product that he could get it off with immediately. So it was such a hard sell. And I said, but it's not leather. And he says, oh no, but it's like leather. It's like leather. It's a leather.
You won't believe it's not leather.
It's exactly. And it was a mistake. And anyway, when they came, there was a cut, and these poor removal guys had brought this sofa, you know, all the way around to my flat. It was a big thing. And then when they unpacked it, I saw this split, and I said, hang on, there's a split in the sofa. And so I rang the sales company. I said, there's a split in the sofa. And then the guy says to me, well, it's up to you. You can send it back right now. And of course, what had I done? I got rid of my old sofa, and we'll order another one, but it could take 2 months. Or you can keep the sofa and we'll send somebody to repair it.
They didn't offer a discount.
This was the third red flag, and I ignored it as well. So I said yes. Months later, they sent somebody, the repair was done, but then the leather started to peel in other places. And to cut a long story short, I had this odyssey with this sofa for 2 years. And it was like phone calls and waiting and parts being taken away and parts coming, no discount, no refund, no replacement. And after 6 years, the sofas were absolutely horrendous. And the best feeling I ever had was when I got them out of the door and I bought a proper leather sofa. But I have such a bad experience because it was so much money that I wasted. And it was awful because I had 3 red flags. So I really regretted it because I knew that I was being deceived. And I let myself be deceived 3 times. And I wasn't a kid. I was old and I should have known better, but I didn't. So that was my biggest buyer's remorse.
Experience is a great teacher. I think those kind of things only happen once, and you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Marlena has a remorse as well, buyer's remorse. Let's have a look. Thanks, Marlena, for all of you sharing all of this. Yeah. So she says, yes, I have. I always have a feeling of buyer's remorse when I purchase organic food, which is always very pricey. It is. And I end up in guilty. I don't know what you mean by in guilty. You end up feeling guilty.
Feeling guilty.
Feeling guilty. Maybe you're guilty because you spent so much money on it, but you shouldn't feel guilty. You're saving the planet, aren't you? So don't feel too guilty.
Oh, terrible cough. I bought a stereo because years ago, when CDs were popular, I thought it'd be nice to have a really nice stereo hi-fi system, speakers, DVD player, amplifier, and it was quite expensive. And I never really used it because I live in a flat, as most people do in cities in Spain. And of course, you can't have music too loud because you're bothering the neighbors. And I just really didn't think of that. So I couldn't really play it properly. I had to have it very low. And I've never really used it. I still have it, actually.
Oh, but you still have it. Well, that's good.
Yeah, I don't use it. So
it makes you
regret.
Yeah, and I think we do. I think everybody regrets buying something, don't they? You know, like, and then they say, "Oh, I'll never do that again." And so we do regret buying things that like haven't worked out, or we see them afterwards and they're too pricey, or we've wasted too much money.
Now, can regrets be positive? We've spoken a lot about how negative they can be. Are they a waste of time? Because, as we said before, you can't really go back and change the past. So maybe there are some positive sides to having regrets. For example, I think Lynn's going to think twice about buying a sofa again.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the thing
sale.
is, you don't, with those red flags now, I just don't let myself be, I mean, it really taught me a lesson, you know, it taught me a lesson about don't be taken in by a really serious sales pitch. if you think you want something like leather, don't let yourself be talked out of having a proper leather, because the material was like a fake leather, and it peeled off like an onion. It was awful. Oh God, it was awful. And so I think it taught me to be clearer about what I want, and to take more responsibility for my decisions.
Yeah.
Because I can't really blame it on the sales guy, because I mean, the sales guy was just trying to make money and do his job. He was earning a living. I only had my own bad judgment to blame, really.
But the
You
same with
know?
that car that I bought when I was young. I mean, I blame myself for that, but it taught me a lesson. So I think that's the positive thing. We learn from our mistakes, we build on our mistakes, and we try not to make them again. So, yeah.
And I think, I mean, there are maybe some other positive things. Sometimes we bond over regrets, because usually when we have regrets, we share them with people. And it's kind of an interesting topic of conversation, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, we've just
And
spoken
when
about the
people,
car and the sofa. So we're
exactly. And then
bonding over that.
Exactly. And then when people, you can make funny stories out of them. And then when people say, "Oh, don't worry, you'll be better," you can be comforted by people. It can form friendships. It can
Don't be too
form,
hard on yourself.
and you like convert it into anecdotes, and that can be very positive, really, I think, as you have anecdotes to tell. Hmm.
Okay, let's move on, shall we, to the next
Hmm.
question. Have you ever made a decision that you don't regret, even though it had negative consequences?
Wow, that's that I had to think a lot about that. You tell me what your answer was, Craig, for that, because you put the question, so you must have thought of an answer.
Yeah, well, I nearly got married once a long time ago, and I think it was the right decision not to get married,
Uh-huh.
even though it caused a lot of pain and the
Uh-huh.
consequences are very negative because I
Yeah.
cancelled the wedding quite close to the date of the wedding.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I don't know if you've seen that film with Gwyneth Paltrow, Sliding Doors, where you take one direction in life or you take
Mm-hmm.
another.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's impossible to know how my life would have gone if I'd taken that decision and gotten
Mm-hmm.
married all those years ago, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't regret it because I think it was the right decision at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a really difficult decision with negative consequences.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
And I
there you
have a
go.
very
Yeah.
similar one, actually, because one of the things that maybe I do regret is because I think we've had this conversation before when we've done I think we did a one on weddings. I can remember because we got these stories from before. And and the the only the one regret that I do have is that I got married, because I didn't walk away earlier. but I got married, and it was a mistake. And
But you
and
got
so I
married
d-
before.
yes, not, but no, I don't regret this one at
I
all.
was
This
gonna I
was
was gonna
this no
say
no
that
no
that's
this marriage was
that would have been the revelation of the century.
no, no. It's my first marriage, and we got married, and it was a mistake. I think we both realised that. So I do regret that we actually went through with the marriage, because we shouldn't have done that, really. But the negative consequences happened afterwards, when we decided to end the marriage, because of course that was really unpleasant.
Yeah.
And and it did have negative consequences, obviously, on me, on my ex-husband, it had lots of negative consequences. But I don't think either of us have ever regretted the divorce. I think it was both sort of kind of really clear it was the best thing that could have been done. But it was a very negative moment. It's not nice getting divorced,
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
or
it's a hard
separating.
hard
Yeah.
thing to go
Mm-hmm.
through.
Mm-hmm.
Marlene says they could be redirectors to the right path.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how you see things and how you react in life. Yeah,
Yeah.
puts you back on the right path.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
good.
And it did,
Good
and I
point.
did get married again, and there's no negative consequences with my 25 years soon to my husband now. So,
So that definitely
uh-huh.
put you on the right path.
Oh, that put me on the right
Yeah.
path. Paco,
Paco
apparently not.
regrets.
No, well, we don't know. He said, after 30 years of marriage, I regret ... We can fill it in for you, Paco. You could say, I regret not getting married 10 years earlier. So it could be
Yeah, could it
40.
be 40 years? I regret not getting married sooner,
Sooner.
says Paco, just in case his wife is watching.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go back to when we were 18, Lynn, and
Oh,
you
gosh.
watching as well. If you are not 18, obviously, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self if you could turn back the clock? There's a question.
That is a question. Do you know, I haven't got an answer for that. I really don't, because I tend to think that I don't know. I look back on the past a lot, and I always try to see the positive side. I'm kind of quite an optimistic person, and I think all the experiences I've had in my life, whether they've been negative or positive, they were like it was part of the journey, sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I mean, I don't really think that I would turn back anything, you know?
Yeah, and it's also the decisions we've made help to make us who we are today. So it's an accumulative thing. Is that the right word, Lynn?
A cumulative,
Thank you. A
cumulative.
cumulative thing over the years that make you the person you are today. So it's another reason I don't really regret a lot of things. I think
When my husband had some good advice here when I was talking to him about this,
I bet I
and
know what he said.
go on then. What do you think?
I bet he said I would buy shares and invest in Google, Apple, and Microsoft.
No, he didn't. He didn't say that. Why would he say that? He wouldn't say
Well,
that.
because you know that you'd be really, really rich now if you did that when
But
you were
those are
18.
material things, and we're so old now. We're not interested in those. He said he would say, live your life, make your own mistakes, because otherwise you don't live.
Yeah, it makes
And
sense.
I said, wow, that was very wise.
Very
And then I said,
wise.
so what have you regretted? Did you not live your life? And he said, no. It's just that he says, it's like when you're 18, you're kind of worried about you're not making the right decisions. So maybe he's right. And maybe the advice I would give myself to is just don't worry. Everything will work out. Because I think the only thing I was worried about when you're 18 is whether you're making the right decisions or not.
Yeah, but I was so immature at 18. I did not know what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
Actually,
but
until I was
you
about
probably
26 or
worried.
27.
But didn't you worry a little bit,
No, I
like,
was
'cause you,
too busy having a good time to
oh, that's
worry.
good. That was good. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I
really
didn't worry
enjoyed
a
my
lot.
teens.
But I did think, I thought I had like you were grown up at 18 and you had responsibility to make some kind of decisions, that when you were younger, your parents made for you. And
Yeah.
suddenly you were 18 and then you had to make the decisions that were going to affect your life. It could be you had to decide what you're going to study, what kind of job you wanted to do, how you wanted to dress,
Yeah.
who you wanted to go out with, who you wanted to be friends with. All those decisions were suddenly, they were there because when you were at school, the decisions were kind of like made for you, weren't they? You were at school, you were in an environment, you knew everybody had to do the same. We all had to wear the same uniform. You had the same group of friends just because they were the only friends that you had contact with every day. So when you were 18 and you suddenly left school and you were in the big wide world, there were decisions that you had to make, and sometimes I think I didn't worry too much about them, but I would be wrong to say I didn't worry. I think I did worry occasionally. Am I doing the right thing? And so maybe the advice is just chill. Of course you're doing the right thing. Just get on with life.
That's so interesting,
Uh-huh.
then, because that never crossed my mind at that age. In my
Did it
late
not?
teens and
Uh-huh.
early 20s, I
Uh-huh.
was so probably selfish and self-centered,
Mm-hmm.
worrying about how best I can have a good time, that I wasn't worried about my future. I didn't think about my future. I wasn't really worried about other people's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I was just too busy having fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Do you think
wasn't a
that's
very
because you were,
responsible.
do you, I mean, this is a bit sexist now, but do you think that's because you were a guy
Possibly, also
then?
because
I
I
mean,
think
I
I
don't think that
was.
happens now, but I think, like, I don't know, girls were like, you had to be careful, you know, you had to make the right decisions, because if you made any wrong decisions, it could have like much more say. I always thought like the guys when I was 18, it's true that all the guys were much more carefree, I think, than the girls, than I was at that age. But I mean, it's a long time ago now. I don't think that's the same nowadays. I think women and like girls and boys, and you know, they're all a little bit more carefree. Uh-huh. In some senses, in another sense not, but in some senses yes. Mhm. So come on
Um,
then, listeners, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self if you could turn back the clock?
Study
Paco,
more English.
Paco, would you say yes or no? Or don't make that proposal or make that proposal? What would Paco say?
Also, it's really interesting to look back on the choices you made from a educational point of view, and
Hmm.
thinking, well, yeah, if I had known then what I know
Hmm.
now, maybe I'd have chosen to study this or
Yeah,
learn that. So, yeah, but of course, you just don't know at the time. So,
you just don't know. And I think when I was younger as well, I was only, because we didn't really have an idea about what careers would be very lucrative. Lucrative means that could bring you a lot of money in the future. And and of course, some people, even if you were more intelligent, there are some careers that people just couldn't foresee. I mean, when I was 18, there was no internet. There was, I mean, Bill Gates was just going in his garage, you know, and so like probably people thought Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were like losers, you know, that they would never make anything of themselves, and then they completely made a technological revolution. I mean, you didn't know then what kind of jobs could make you a lot of money. You see that in retrospect, if money is what you would like. I said I'm not driven only by money, but I mean, it's nice to be comfortable, isn't it? To have
yeah,
enough and not to
exactly.
worry about it. And sometimes English teaching, you have to worry about it a little bit.
You could say that, Lynn. You could say that. What's the
Yeah.
next question? Is there a difference between regretting personal choices and regretting external circumstances beyond your control? Meaning, for example, if there's a financial crisis and you lose your business, you have to close your business. That's no point regretting that, is there? It doesn't make sense to regret something that's outside of your area of influence, outside of your
Hmm.
control. Why regret external things?
Well,
If
do
you're,
people regret? Yeah, well, they do actually. They
they
say,
do
"Oh, I wish
actually.
that hadn't happened."
Wish it hadn't happened.
That's
I mean,
right.
you might
Wish
be a
it hadn't
farmer,
happened.
and because of global warming, you don't have any
Uh-huh.
crops that year, and you can't sell
Uh-huh.
anything you've grown. I mean, that's not your conscious decision. That's just
No.
something
Hmm.
out of your control. So there's no point regretting things that
Hmm.
you have no control over. That's what I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah, but the personal choices, they're more difficult, aren't they? Maybe they're more difficult to let go. I find that I don't worry so much about like the external circumstances. I might suffer while you're in the moment. You obviously suffer from these unexpected things that happen in life that you haven't predicted, and it might set you back.
Hmm.
But eventually, they're much easier to deal with and move on from, because you have no choice. Uh-huh. But maybe if you are regretting personal choices a lot, maybe that could be more damaging for you in the long term, you
Hmm.
know?
I mean, for example, if you think back to COVID when we were in lockdown and I was at
Mm-hmm.
home for so long, and
Mm-hmm.
I did make use of my time fairly constructively. Obviously, I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
working, I wasn't teaching at the school, but I wish I had used that time more productively
Mm-hmm.
to create more things, to spend time learning a new skill.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wasted it worrying about what might happen because of
Mm-hmm.
COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not regretting COVID. I'm
Mm-hmm.
regretting the decisions I made at that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I remember one regret. I also have one regret about external circumstances. It's not to do with COVID, but for example, I used to say a lot. I don't say it so much now, but I used to say, I wish my current husband, I wish my husband and I had met 10 years before.
Mm,
And I used to say that a lot because when we met, we were both older and we immediately decided to have a family. And so my husband and I didn't really have much time to travel or to, like to have like a more carefree relationship before we had a lot of responsibility with our daughters and things.
yeah.
So especially when we were younger, I thought, oh, I wish I'd met him 10 years before because we could have traveled together and things like that. But the girls have grown up now, and now we're going to travel again, so
Oh, there.
it's
So you've
okay.
just done it
It
in
works out.
reverse.
We've
Yeah.
just done it in reverse. Yeah, that's true. Hmm.
Marlene says, oh, this is the question I think about your 18-year-old self.
Self. Uh-huh.
Don't worry about pleasing people, but focus on making yourself happy.
Yeah, you see,
Yeah.
that's a very piece of, and that's what I said. That's why I think especially that was a difference between gender, because when I was 18, I think girls were definitely brought up to please other people, and
Mm,
boys could be more independent. So that's why I think that girls were less carefree. I mean, again, I'm not sure whether that's the case now. It's different now. It's different now, you know.
mm.
But I think that's a good piece of advice. I would have taken your advice, Marlena.
Yeah, that's.
If you'd given that to me, that's a good piece of advice.
I think
Hmm.
that's excellent advice. And
Hmm.
Paloma's hi Paloma. She says that's
Hi, Paloma.
external circumstances to help you to change your mind and complete opposite that you do instantly if you're sick. I'm not sure what you mean there, Paloma.
Hmm.
Oh, changing career from secretary to hairdresser.
Ah, that's
So,
external to help you change your mind and do something completely. So, okay. So maybe you want to say, Paloma, that external circumstances can help you to change your mind and do something completely opposite to what you're doing now. For
mm,
instance, if you are a secretary, you can change to a hairdresser.
yeah,
I, I,
we
I
think
hope
that's what.
that's what
Yeah,
you
no, I
mean.
agree. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds
Uh-huh.
like that sounds
Hmm.
like I think what Paloma's trying to say.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
true. I think that's true sometimes. I mean, in COVID, for example, when COVID happened, I never thought I would be an online teacher. It was through COVID that I decided I had no intention of setting up my own business. Before COVID, I was looking for a permanent job. And I certainly didn't want the responsibility of being a businesswoman and doing my own. And certainly, I couldn't imagine online teaching.
Hmm.
And yet, with COVID, it completely changed my mind. It gave me a whole new opportunity I couldn't have imagined before.
So looking back, do you
Hmm.
regret becoming an online teacher? Would it have been a better
Absolutely not.
decision? No.
Absolutely not. And for that reason, I don't regret COVID. I mean, I'm saying that with inverted commas. I know many, many people died in COVID. I'm talking about our own personal experience here. I mean, COVID was a terrible thing, but
Hmm.
the COVID for me personally gave me space to discover completely different things that I hadn't imagined before. So I don't regret that at all personally. But I mean, that's a big caveat. I know that COVID was a terrible time for many, many people. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I regret that we have to say goodbye because we're nearly at the end
Oh,
of the hour. That's gone really
hmm
quickly. Just before we go, hello, Reiko. You've joined us right at the end. Please go and
hmm
watch the replay if you're interested in how to express regrets. Hello,
hmm
Graciela from Buenos Aires, and
Oh,
Paola.
hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. And
So,
Paola as well.
Paola
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And we are sorry if we're not. I mean, there are probably more people there, but we're not seeing their comments. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
we apologize if we're not seeing all of your comments. I
Uh-huh.
know that, I mean, Hema, I don't know if you're watching today, Hema, but Hema is a regular listener and watcher, and I know that we're not seeing her comments. So I'm really sorry,
Yeah.
Hema. I don't know what's happening, but we're not seeing
No.
your comments.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Maybe Hemmer, maybe if you are watching, maybe you can send Craig an email and tell him which platform you're watching on, because that would help, wouldn't it? If we knew
Y-
which platforms
Or
the
tell me
comments
on,
are not coming through.
or tell me
Uh-huh.
on Twitter, on X, Hema, because I know that
Yeah.
Hema follows me
Uh-huh.
on X,
Yeah.
formerly Twitter.
Perfect. Uh-huh.
So before we go though,
Okay.
I just want to go back and review that grammar just to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that we're on the same page. So with regrets, use the gerund.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about past regrets, obviously, I regret going to university, or I regret not going to university or studying Spanish at school.
hmm
And
And can I just add you there, because I've seen that Paola has just written very kindly. She says, "And I regret not to be on time." Now you missed the grammar bit at the beginning, Paola, but that's an example of the mistake. So you're regretting something in the past. So you have to say, "I regret not," and then you need the gerund, being on time. I regret not being on time. That's a mistake that many people make, right? So remember, if you're regretting something in the past, you need the gerund. If you're regretting something in the present or the future, that's when you use to, Mhm. the infinitive.
here's a
Okay.
regret from Alejandra. I wish my parents had broken up
hmm
before.
That was
Oh,
awful during
yeah.
your childhood.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm sorry about
That's a
that.
that's a strong regret, and that's a perfectly legitimate. But that had nothing to do with you, Alejandro, did it?
Out of your
External
control.
situation. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the class. Yes, we will do some more complex grammar. Thank you for
Mm-hmm.
your feedback, Marlene.
Mm-hmm.
And Paola's corrected herself. Yes, fantastic. Well done.
Great.
So we had that infinitive, and then I wish with past perfect. So I
Uh-huh.
wish I had studied. I wish I had gone. I wish I had bought. I wish I hadn't bought that sofa, says
Uh-huh.
Lynn. Or if only.
Definitely.
If only
Uh-huh.
I had, if only I hadn't. So just remember that. If you're using if
Mhm.
only or wish, past perfect.
And remember that often the past perfect, you can't hear it. I wish I'd, if only I'd. And that I'd is the had from the past perfect. Hmm
Exactly. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you don't regret watching. And
hmm
before we go, we'll just tell you where we're from.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Lynn. My website is putitlikethis.com, and I make tailor-made courses for people to try to help you find your own voice in English. So if you're interested, you can go to my website and check out the kind of things I do, and you can also contact me over the website if you want to. hmm
And I have conversation classes if you want to actually improve your speaking, your fluency, and the way you communicate. Go to englishcraig.com. You'll find details there. Book a free 15-minute consultation on Zoom so that I can see where your English level is and give you more information about those courses. There's a new Sunday course starting this week, and there'll be more courses starting in June. Also, there's a podcast. Go to inglespodcast.com to improve your English and take it to the next level. And if you're a Spanish speaker, you'll find free material at mansioningles.com. Okay, we won't be back next week, or in 2 weeks even,
In 2 weeks, no?
but we do always put the dates and times on Twitter, on Facebook, and on YouTube and LinkedIn. So keep watching the social media, and then you'll be able to see the next live stream. But we don't have a date for it yet, but there will be one
There
in
will be
2 or
one
3
more
weeks. Yeah,
before the summer.
before the summer.
Okay. All right, then.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. And I hope you all have a nice week and that you don't regret anything.
Don't regret anything. Keep smiling.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.